Hey guys, what is going on? You are checking out a special live edition of the RCWR show covering WWE Summerslam 2019 Fallout for Sunday night of August 11th, 2019. What is going on with you guys? I am looking at a little bit of a delay. You guys got to forgive me, and I don't know if that's something I can maybe fix at my back end, but I'm watching what you guys are watching, and there's like maybe about a 20-second delay. So I hope I can kind of fix that in post-production. Maybe there's some type of a setting I'm missing. Anyway, appreciate you guys that's checking out the post show. We're doing this with our YouTube audience in mind, as that's how we're streaming it right now, but we are going to make the audio version be available. It'll be a companion piece to Monday's RCWR show. And yes, I did say Monday. If you missed it, for you longtime listeners, you all know that many years ago, not that long ago, but it has definitely been a couple of years removed, at least 3 that comes into mind, about 3 years total. We used to be on every single Monday night after Raw had went off the air. And I know that's something that a lot of listeners have been wanting us to kind of go back to off and on for a couple of years, and we've done little sporadic appearances here and there on Monday nights, but I'm happy to say to you guys that as far as the Tuesday night editions of the RCWR show, that's no more. We're now going to be moving to Monday nights as soon as Raw goes off the air. Now, I should note, it's not going to be a full-blown Raw recap, but I will definitely talk a bit more about what happened on Raw, but it's going to be the typical RCWR show that you guys are accustomed to getting on Tuesdays, okay? And we're basically going to go in a hard 90 minutes, and whatever does not get covered is going to instead be covered as maybe bonus audio content that'll be included for on demand and on the downloads. That way it stretches out to a 2 hour, maybe a 2 hour and 10-minute show. That way it's a little bit of an incentive for those that continue to support the show on demand and on the downloads. You get some awesome bonus content and everything. So I know it's a lot of information that we just gave you up front, but have no fear, I'll remind you guys a little bit later on before the broadcast is out. Most importantly, let me make sure that there is no reverb/echo. There we go. I think I took care of it now. Okay, I think we're good to go now. Yeah, so we're talking SummerSlam. I do appreciate you guys that's checking out the SummerSlam pay-per-view recap show. Let's jump right into it, man, without any further ado. Okay, so I do want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you had thought about tonight's pay-per-view event. I have a couple of polling options available right now for you guys to sign off. YouTube, it's over on the communities tab. Click on that. We gave you a decent amount of options, as you all are accustomed to. We also put the same poll up on our Twitter page, and we also have the poll open on Facebook as well. But go mainly to the YouTube or the Twitter, because you have more polling options. And just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a peek right now, I know it's early, but let's see where we are right now. I'm actually taking to Twitter and seeing how people thought of the pay-per-view overall here. Let's see. It's still kind of early, but right now looking at about 29% that are giving the pay-per-view a staying in the middle. Meanwhile, a 71% are giving the pay-per-view a thumbs up. And let me make sure, yep, that's how I'm reading it right now. And then let me just see what is going on via Facebook here real quick. And let's see if I can load that up. That was literally the last thing I posted. So let's see if I can actually get that up and running here. And if not, we'll come back to it in a hot second. Okay, it's loading up though. Bear with me a second here, guys. I appreciate y'all's patience. And let's see where we are with the poll here. Still pretty early on Facebook. Right now, I am seeing... Interesting. I am seeing 80% via Facebook are giving the pay-per-view a thumbs down. 80% are giving the pay-per-view a thumbs down. 20% are giving the pay-per-view a thumbs up. So sound off. Let me know what you had thought about the pay-per-view. So look, I got my notes, man. I did watch the 2 hour pre-show, the kickoff. I did watch that. Had a lot of fun checking that out. As always, I gotta say, Charlie Caruso, my God, my God, my God, she is just perfection. Just simply beautiful, man. Simply beautiful. Pre-show had consisted of her, David Otunga, Sam Roberts, JBL. We also got appearances by Booker T, Beth Phoenix, Mick Foley. Did I mention Jerry the King Lawler already? If not, there you go. Hey, so nice. Plug them twice in case I had repeated it the first time, already. But that was pretty much for your 2 hours what was the main pieces for your 2 hour pre-show. I know hour one was mainly on Otunga, Charlie. I can't believe I forgot Jonathan Coachman. I can't believe I forgot him. Jonathan Coachman was in there as well. Jonathan Coachman, Charlie, who else? David Otunga, Beth Phoenix. They pretty much had took up most of hour one. And then when hour two of the kickoff went into effect, then you had Jerry Lawler. Who else was in there? I think it was Jerry Lawler and Booker T. Jerry Lawler and Booker T were for hour two. Mick Foley, I think they squeezed in during hour one because they wanted to pick his brain, talk to him a little bit about everything that was coming about with that match for Finn Balor taking on The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and everything. And I thought it was rather interesting that they talked about the mandible claw from Mick Foley, a move in which he made so famous, and how that move was done on him by Bray Wyatt, his thoughts and everything, and just the match. I thought it was kind of interesting that one of the first questions they threw at him, though, was about that mandible claw being used on him. Thought that was a very, very telling tale, because it was almost kind of, I would like to believe that in real life, Bray went up to Mick and said, hey, look, man, I'm thinking about this gimmick that I have now, this new repackaged gimmick. I'm loving it and everything. And I'm sure Mick is, oh, yeah, I love what you're doing with it. It's badass so far. And I'm sure Bray was kind of going back and forth with Mick, maybe a couple of other people talking about, hey, what am I going to do for a finisher? I need something that looks very savage. I need something that looks very intimidating, very threatening, very imposing, and then it doesn't get any fucking better than the goddamn mandible claw. I mean, seriously, man, fucking seriously. But that was a good little take when they had Mick Foley on the show. We did have 2 pre-show matches, and the way they did those pre-show matches, they pretty much did one during the first hour. Second hour, you had your other one as well. Your first pre-show matchup, we had saw Drew Gulak defeat Oney Lorcan for the Cruiserweight Championship. Good match. For me personally, I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe because the match was kind of short, right? Because it was barely 10 minutes from what I remember. Again, I'm relying on my notes. I don't need to rely on websites or anything like that. I'm just reminding on my notes, and I put little timestamps down, ballpark figure. But it wasn't even 10 minutes that these two guys had went into it. And I don't know, for me, I really could not get truly invested in this match. And that's not a disservice to Drew Gulak or anything. He's grown on me a bit since I first saw him come up during the Cruiserweight tournament and everything. He's grown on me, and I like this 180 that he's done with his gimmick and everything. I'm invested. He's talented as hell, right? Oney Lorcan, he's another one that is, he's okay, but I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it, but for me, these two guys, they didn't really seem to gel that well in the ring. Even though this was for the Cruiserweight Championship, I really did not feel any type of sense of urgency. I didn't feel any sense of excitement. Which is a telling tale for me, because when I look at Drew Gulak taking on Tony Nese, I was heavily invested in that. And pretty much whoever else Drew Gulak was chasing after for the Cruiserweight title. My memory's a little bit fuzzy right now, but if you threw the names out there at me prior to Oni, I'd be able to tell you off the break, I was invested in that. But with Oni, I really did not care that much about it. Now, that's not saying the match was bad. Maybe they need to continue to go at it a little bit longer and it plays out on 205. Maybe build up a little bit more. I don't know, guys. I don't know, but a little bit lost on that one. But hey, pre-show, you can't really shit on it, right? Go to our second matchup, which was, again, hour 2 during your kickoff pre-show. That consisted of Buddy Murphy taking on Apollo Crews. Buddy Murphy had made pretty quick work of Apollo Crews. It was post-match where things had got pretty interesting. Eric Rowan had actually came on down to the ring, beat the holy shit out of Buddy Murphy, beat him down real good. And it pretty much ended with Eric Rowan on top of Murphy saying, "Keep my name out of your mouth." And they had Pan backstage as Daniel Bryan was watching everything that his boy was doing. Very silent, and that's something that the commentators continued to comment on throughout the night when they did go back and show what had happened with Eric Rowan when he collided with Buddy Murphy. They kept bringing up the fact that Daniel Bryan, he's been very silent during all of this craziness that's been going on with whoever had attacked Roman Reigns, right? So very, very, very weird what was going on there. Very weird that was going on there. But in either case, that was it for hour 2. And now we go to the main event. One of the first things that jumped out at me, and I hope it jumped out at you guys as well for the main pay-per-view card, which is there was pyro. There was pyro. I mean, after you get done with the video graphic package, which was like 3 minutes long, and then you go to the proper introduction, you see the stage, you see the fans in attendance, and then they shoot off all of this awesome ass pyro. You're going, holy shit, there's pyro for a WWE pay-per-view. Okay, yeah, it's not North America, it's Canada, right? And now some people could make the argument, well, maybe that's why. Maybe that is why we have what's going on here, because it's in Canada and it's kind of rare that WWE tosses over to Canada one of the main pay-per-views, right? So maybe that's kind of why they kind of went all out to give a little bit of extra love to Canada, right? Who knows? That's just speculation. All I know is I saw pyro. I was excited because for me, honestly, no bullshit, I miss the days of WWE where every single freaking pay-per-view, it felt like it was some type of over-the-top production. It felt special. It felt like, man, with all of this flair and all this jazz that's in the air, oh man, you're in for a magical ride. Pull up a seat, have a couple of cold ones, invite your friends over. You're going to be watching something special here, right? It's very monumental. And it's something that I wish that for every single pay-per-view, I'm down with them cutting back on the costs and everything for the house shows, for the Raws, the SmackDowns, TV tapings, whatever. I'm down with them cutting back on costs, but let it be a regular thing for your pay-per-views. There's nothing really wrong with that, or at least have it set up in a way where you're doing it every other pay-per-view, right? I mean, no brainer. You got to do it for your big 4 pay-per-views, right? No big brainer right there. But good stuff right there. So, oh, by the way, a lot of people, for those of you that did not watch the SummerSlam pay-per-view event, maybe were tied up with work or just out with friends, whatever, and you're like, oh, I'll check it out later on. I'll be able to watch it on demand. Hopefully things will be all right for you. I don't know if it was a bandwidth issue as far as a lot of people traffic-wise was going to the WWE network for this event or what, but there were severe server issues. And I was just sharing my personal experience on social media. By the way, shout out to those of you I interacted with on social media. There was a lot of people that were very frustrated with what was going on with the network in real time. Now, I had to restart my WWE Network app twice, because normally when I stream the WWE Network, I stream it on Xbox One, and I have the highest internet package that's humanly possible, because I'm with Fios and everything. So I care a great deal as far as upload speed, download speed, all that shit. And you know, we got a household here in the Sanders family of people that like to be on tablets and all kinds of devices being connected to the internet. So the internet at my household is very vital, and I expect nothing but the very best, right? Even if it means I'm paying a premium, top dollar for it, I care about the service. And yeah, it was weird. Now, a lot of other people were experiencing the same issues. WWE Network, or WWE, I should say, they did put out a statement connected to the network saying, hey, we're aware of the issues that's going on. You could try a couple of these things. Maybe that will take care of it. But some people were still having issues with the WWE Network. I would say throughout the night, mentioning the first 2 times of what went down with the app via Xbox One, I probably had to restart it 2 more times. And one of those times was on the desktop, because at one point the desktop and the Xbox One, the stream stopped at the same time. It was really weird. And then desktop would not start up for nothing. Went in the other room, started up the network app again, and then it was fine. Trying to put my finger on why are we having these problems, right? Because you kind of wonder if, well, they did just do a new facelift with the network, right? They did do an update. Maybe that ties into why the problems are the way that they are right now. Who knows? Just speculation. First matchup of the night for the actual pay-per-view card. We had Natalya take on Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title. Yeah, it was actually Becky Lynch and Natty opening up the official pay-per-view. Look, these two, they had a good match. I actually enjoyed their chemistry together. I just kind of wish in retrospect this match would have been booked a little bit more properly. And I say that from the standpoint of Natty had just really came from out of nowhere as far as being named the number 1 contender, and the fans are now supposed to give a damn about Natty being in this position and facing Becky Lynch. And I mean, look, now and again, when you hear certain wrestlers on WWE TV throw the word bitch out there or asshole or whatever, everybody's got to go with the ooh, ah, hey, and it's like, hey, all right, now we got a feud here. It's like, that's just a good sound bite. When it's all said and done, that's just a good sound bite. But take away the sound bite, what's really the gravitas? What's really the substance that you have here that you can really sink your teeth into? And there really isn't much that's there. And I kind of wish in retrospect there would have been a bit of a better job in promoting this match. I kind of wish that, look, we can all be in agreement that if there was ever a true proper time to have Natty be in a situation where she's going for a women's title, that window of opportunity was definitely when her dad had sadly passed. Okay? And for some of us, when we got the news that as the wrestling community, when we heard the news of her dad passing, a lot of us were like, okay, well, she's probably going to take a little bit of time off. One could only speculate how long that time was going to be. But if you ask me personally, how long was I maybe anticipating her being out for a while? I was thinking maybe 2 months, maybe 3 tops, right? Just to kind of find herself and kind of get back into the groove of things. That's her dad, right? But God, I think she was only off TV. I don't even think it was 3 weeks. And then the next thing you know, she was back on the saddle again. And so, okay, well, if she's back on the saddle again, and if there's ever an opportunity you want to try to capitalize on the passing of her dad and everything, because after all, the show must go on. And hey, if he was still alive and he could somehow be incorporated in a storyline that would culminate in his daughter becoming the champion, hell yeah, he'd probably sign off on it, right? So WWE missed that opportunity, right? So sadly, you can't really go back to that period and try to bring that to the present. But what you could do is something along the lines of, Natty basically saying to Becky Lynch, hey, not for nothing, but I am a member of the Hart Foundation. In my blood is the Hart family. And, I am going to be your greatest test to date as champion, right? Because when you really stop and think about it, Becky has kind of technically been on easy street ever since Ronda Rousey made her exit post WrestleMania. It's kind of just been, and it's been a little bit rough at times looking at Becky Lynch. It really, really has been, right? But I wish that they could have went in a direction where Natty was just, hey, look, I don't really know how many more of these title shot opportunities are gonna be coming to me, because Father Time, it catches up with everybody, right? So I don't really know if this is a situation where this is maybe my last window of opportunity here, and for it to happen in my home country, my freaking God. Gino, appreciate the super chat, buddy. Thank you. And if anybody else wants to do a super chat as well during the stream, you could do so as well. But I wish they would have kind of pushed the envelope a little bit. And, I'm sure many of you out there could probably think of a better story that could have been told in setting up Natty, just as far as building her up even stronger and facing Becky, right? Not to mention, we saw Becky Lynch do these heel things to Natty where you're confused, wondering, okay, so who exactly is the heel here? Who exactly is the face? One thing was for certain, when both of these women came out for their respected entrances, the crowd was a bit kind of lackluster, but I will say this, they were more so in favor of Becky Lynch. Here's Natty right here from Canada, right? And she couldn't even get the massive pop that any other time she should be able to get. So, I kind of put that blame on WWE as far as how they went about building up Natty to get up to this point, right? So it is what it is, right? But the match itself, I thought was good. This was pretty much a submission match, right? Closing moments of this one, again, I can tell you a little bit about how this match had played out. One cool spot that really caught my attention during this match as well, there was a sharpshooter on the top turnbuckle that Natty had applied to Becky Lynch. I thought that spot was fucking sweet, right? For me, it was a case of, obviously these girls have been practicing this, I could tell, but the way that they did it in the final run of what we were watching tonight, it went very, very smooth, the sequence, how everything was set up in Natty doing that sharpshooter there. Again, from the top turnbuckle. It was a nice ass sweet spot. Working the leg. Then you saw a super back suplex from the top turnbuckle by Natty to Becky. Closing moments, you saw a sharpshooter applied to Becky. Natty had it locked in, but Becky Lynch somehow managed to drag her or use her elbows and kind of just crawl her way to the ropes. Now keep in mind, because it's a submission match, that doesn't count, right? You can grab the ropes, you can tug on them, you can jerk off to them, you can do whatever you want with those ropes. It ain't gonna be no break, okay? So you gotta somehow figure out how to get the hell out of there. So Becky grabs the ropes and everything, and she just somehow pulls her upper body out from under the bottom rope, and now she's got half her body outside of the ring. Natty barely lets go of the move. She actually tries to readjust herself, grabs Becky, drags her back into the middle of the ring, and tries to apply the sharpshooter again, trying to put a little bit more torque on it, thinking, okay, middle of the ring, this has to be it. 1, 2, 3, I'm done now. No, Becky Lynch was able to counter the sharpshooter, turned it into a disarmer, and was able to retain her Raw Women's title that way. It was actually a good technical matchup. For me, I personally felt that post Ronda Rousey, Charlotte at WrestleMania, I personally felt that to date, this was, without a shadow of doubt, one of the best singles matches that Becky had for her title, right? Now, some people may say, well, what about the stuff with Lacey Evans, Lee? What about Lacey Evans? Lacey Evans, still very green. And to the point, not for nothing, this isn't a diss, but you see where Lacey Evans is now, right? And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Lacey Evans has been on Main Event. Yeah, that's where she's been, for those of you that's wondering what's going on with her. She's still making her rounds, doing her interviews and everything like that, but as far as, hey, I don't see her on Raw. Hey, I don't see her on SmackDown. Hey, where is she? She's on Main Event, okay? Those of you that want to catch up on her and see what's going on. So, she still has a bit ways to go as far as learning goes, but what she's shown so far, it's impressive. I definitely would say that. It's definitely impressive, not for nothing, right? So for me, Natty was probably the greatest test in ring wise to Becky Lynch and her run as the champion thus far. However, when you go back and you look at, okay, what's been the best story build up so far with regards to Becky defending the title and everything, honestly, you still kind of got to go with the whole Becky 2 belts and everything going into Mania. That still was Becky Lynch pretty damn strong, honestly. Going on to our next matchup, we had Goldberg defeating Dolph Ziggler. Yeah, this was pretty interesting. I got to tell you, it was pretty interesting. I'm not really sure how to feel about this one, right? Now, I'm going to talk about this match, and it's real short and sweet, but I'm going to need to double down on some statements that I said about Bill Goldberg from the Super Showdown event that came about a couple of months ago. I do need to be consistent, all right? Because I don't need people that's going to backpedal and say, well, wait a minute, Lee. A couple of months ago when it came to Bill Goldberg, you had said this, and now you're saying this. Brother, you sound like you're talking out of both ends of your mouth, man. What's going on with you, brother? All right, so this match, plain, sweet, simple. Short-ass match. I don't even think this match was 4 minutes long. So, match opens up. By the way, Canadian crowd, Canada, I got to give it up to you. You guys fucking rocked. Their energy was all throughout. You could feel it even during the pre-show when Elias, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but Elias, he had his spot in the pre-show and he was doing an acoustic set and he basically was singing, you know how I know I'm in Toronto, and he was just going at it. And my God, he made fun of the fact that Canadians haven't won a Stanley Cup in a good minute or whatever. He made fun of the fact that Kawhi Leonard took his talents to LA. He made fun of the Blue Jays. I mean, he ripped them a new asshole and they were giving it to freaking Elias. But the crowd energy, I tell you, on nights like this where maybe you're a bit tired, work's kind of caught up to you, whatever, it's nice to turn on the pay-per-view and you got a lively crowd because it makes all the difference in the entire world. It really, really does. Goldberg's entrance, the crowd was into this. They were doing the chants, and normally you can tell when there's a bunch of, all right, they're piping in the crowd here or some shit like that. Tonight, that was not the case. What you heard was authentic. There were people legitimately excited for Bill Goldberg. And you know what? For me, that actually put a smile on my face because he didn't really get that at the Super Showdown. He really didn't. Those of you that watch it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was pretty, as far as who got the reactions of the night, it was really playing it back in my head. It was really Undertaker. Yeah, it was really Undertaker that had got the reaction of the freaking night. Randy Orton, Triple H, those were the guys that had really got the buzz. Everybody else, it was just kind of, almost golf clap like basically. So Canada, loved them some Goldberg. Goldberg, come on out there. Match begins. Dolph Ziggler connects with a super kick. Just lays out Bill Goldberg. That was just some sweet shit. Ain't that funny? I said that is some sweet shit, and you could almost make the argument I was getting ready to say sweet shin music, but no, it was some sweet shit music that Dolph Ziggler had did to Goldberg. Tried to go for the cover. Goldberg kicks out. Dolph Ziggler cranks it up again, delivers another super kick. both of these just connecting very well to the face of Goldberg. I mean, very fucking well. You just swore that Goldberg got his fucking head kicked off for real, right? Ziggler goes in for another cover. No mas. So finally, Dolph Ziggler goes on in there, and I guess he's looking for a third super kick. He's calling for Bill to get up. He's calling for it. Next thing you know, wham, Goldberg connects with a spear. He follows it up with the jackhammer, gets the 1, 2, 3. That's it. Match is over. You're going, okay, well, that's Bill Goldberg, right? And look, I grew up on Bill Goldberg. I remember his run during the WCW days, and I'm telling you, I know it looks kind of silly. It may look even downright stupid when you see how he's having these short matches and everything. But you guys got to remember that when it comes to the Bill Goldberg character, again, you got to understand your history, right? If you're going to be talking about something, at least understand the history from when it originally went down. When Bill Goldberg was doing this shit back in the WCW days, this was something that was very fresh. This was something that we had never saw before. And this was during a time when you didn't have the internet thriving as it is today. You know, and you know a lot of the ins and outs, or you think you know a lot about the ins and outs happening with the business, because you go to websites and you got the podcasts and all of this other shit that's out there. It was very, very primitive way back when, right? And you still had a lot of people that were under the impression, oh, this is real, you know? And when Goldberg was doing his fucking streak and he was just beating people's asses left and right, it caught the entire wrestling industry by storm. Because it was like, this dude ain't no fucking joke, right? What Bruno was back in the day, it was like when Goldberg came around. I mean, Goldberg hit all the demographics. All the demographics. It didn't matter what the gender was. It didn't matter what the race was, the religion. Like, everybody unanimously knew who Bill Goldberg was. Even if it was a case where they didn't even watch the freaking WCW product, they knew who Bill Goldberg was, because that's how big he was in the news. I can remember a couple of times I would be watching the late night news or whatever, especially on the weekend. And back then they used to have the George Michael Sports Machine. It used to be syndicated. He would come on Sunday nights on NBC. Used to watch him out in Chicago, California, and everything. And George Michael, not the singer, George Michael the Sports Machine. He was a legendary sports anchor. He would cover the world of sports of all types. So one of the most coolest highlights that he had was when he would cover wrestling, and he would cover a lot of stuff happening in different promotions, but he showed a lot of love to the WWE back then, the WWF and everything. But he also covered WCW. And I'm telling you, if you made it on the George Michael Sports Machine, it was like, that was the talk the next day at the water cooler or at school or whatever. So thinking you're going to get a Bill Goldberg that's going to come out and give you a 10, 20-minute matchup, or do some NXT takeover bullshit where Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole wrestled for 46 minutes, right? No, you're not going to get that with Bill Goldberg, all right? He has always been a strike first, wrap the match up as quick as humanly possible, and out. That's it. You know, it ain't pretty. It's ugly, and he don't play around, right? That's how it is. So the match is over. Dolph Ziggler grabs a microphone, calls Goldberg a dipshit, says to him he's still here, he's still undefeated. He knew that Bill Goldberg didn't have the balls to face him man to man. This made Bill Goldberg turn right back around, as he was already on the ramp stage area. He turns right back around, gets in the ring, spears the shit out of Dolph Ziggler once again. Rolls out, music is playing, he goes backstage, he is completely gone now. Dolph Ziggler grabs the microphone again, and he's talking shit. And he's just going on and on talking shit. He's probably talking shit for like about maybe 90 seconds. Bill Goldberg comes back out, picks up Dolph Ziggler, doesn't even like want to attack him. Now he's kind of having a second change of heart, basically, right? And he just pats him on the face. And just when you think Bill Goldberg is leaving Dolph Ziggler alone, no, instead he's just bouncing off one side of the ropes, goes to the other side of the ropes, boom, hits him with a third spear, lays out Dolph Ziggler. Now officially that is it. No more shit talking from one Dolph Ziggler. Look, was that a little bit drawn out? I would say so. I would say it was a little bit drawn out. Honestly, there was no need to do that a third time, because one could make the argument, okay, now it kind of seems comical the way that you're doing this with Dolph and everything. Now it kind of seems exhausted. And I could kind of see where some people are coming from with regards to that, right? Now, what happened with Bill Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, I can't go back and change how I laid it out there with regards to Undertaker and Goldberg at Saudi Arabia. And for those of you that had missed it, I took such a massive shit on that match. I basically said, with regards to the Undertaker, I said, look, he doesn't owe us anything else. He's left us practically 30 years of great freaking work. It's such a great, impressive body of work. He doesn't really need to do anything else for us. But okay, he's in his early 50s. He feels like he needs to continue to go out there because he feels like he has something to prove. God bless him. If he wants to continue to go out there, okay, all right. He's got his surgeries done. He feels that he has more still to offer. Okay. I look at Bill Goldberg. I know one of the main reasons why he came back, and again, this is in his own words because it was documented on his 24/7 special on the network, talking about how his family did not get a chance to see him when he was a pro wrestling athlete and everything. And so his kid is now starting to hear stories about him, and wife is hearing things as well. And so he's pretty much introducing them to that part in his life that made him a lot of money, that made him a household name and everything, right? So it's like second time around, he's creating these nice, cool, fun memories and everything. And I know when it came to that Saudi Arabia show, I said, at that time, I said, as much of a Bill Goldberg fan as I am, I don't want to see him get back in there again. I just don't. It pained me to see what he was doing in there with Taker in Saudi Arabia. I just felt it was a big clusterfuck. Now, what I did not consider, and it was something that a couple of friends had actually pulled me to the side and, really, really said, hey, look, you got to consider this. You got to remember this. And it never really dawned on me how, hey, look, not for nothing. And it's not really an excuse, but I would like to see some of us try to do some type of physical exercise in that kind of weather. But not for nothing, the weather out there was like 100 and something plus out there. I mean, I think at one point it was maybe almost pushing 110 or whatever. I know at one point, 9 o'clock at night, I think Corey Graves and them, they said, hey, it's 105 degrees right now. And it's basically 9 o'clock at night. Okay, so you factor that in. You got all these bright, hot-ass lights that's all around them, right? Okay, yeah, you could drink all the water you want and everything, but when you are that up there in age, yeah, dehydration is probably going to catch up to you a lot more now that you're older as opposed to when you were much younger, right? So at that end, add in what happened with the headbutt and the bleeding and turnbuckle, all that shit, right? And it is what it is, right? So the fact that Undertaker was able to have his moment of redemption back in the States almost immediately after the Saudi Arabia thing. And now you have Goldberg in this situation where he's able to redeem himself as well, right? And I see how some people were trying to get all philosophical about Bill Goldberg tonight and what he had did. Like, understand something, Bill Goldberg didn't do anything different than practically what we've seen of him during his entire run in WCW, and for the most part his first run in the WWE, and definitely the last handful of times that he's been back in the WWE. So there really isn't anything drastically different about what's happened with Goldberg this go around. So let's really make sure that we get that record straight. Still a Bill Goldberg fan, always have been a Bill Goldberg fan. Even when I criticized him on the Saudi Arabia show, I said, hey, I'm still a fan of this dude, but my God, you see him keep going out there, right? What he did tonight was good. If this is the very last time that Bill Goldberg is going to be out there, I think he's ending it on a good note. I just know personally, I wish it could have gone in a much different direction, right? I wish it could have been a situation where just kind of bending the realms of reality a bit. Is it fact or fiction? Just let the people come to their own conclusion. You had Matt Riddle there, takeover weekend. I wish you could have done a situation where if both parties were comfortable, if at one point while Bill Goldberg was getting ready to go for his trademark jackhammer to pretty much put the bookend on the match with Dolph Ziggler, I wish you could have had Matt Riddle come out there, talk a bunch of trash to Bill Goldberg, mock him, all of that other shit, and then Bill Goldberg, he's focused on him, giving the trash talk right back to him, tell him to come on down, get in the ring, step into it, go at it, man to man, right? And then you have Dolph Ziggler pretty much come from behind, zigzag, whatever, picks up the win, set up Bill Goldberg in a way where now he's chasing after Matt Riddle. Maybe you have these two eventually collide at Survivor Series. Maybe you could do something like that, right? Just food for thought, right? That would have been a nice little way you could have done it if you wanted to do some swerves. Because I really was under the impression this year's SummerSlam was really going to come in with a lot of swerves. And we really did not get that many swerves, really did not get that many surprises. It was nice seeing Edge. I definitely need to highlight that. Edge did show up. It was not on the main show. Edge actually had showed up during the pre-show. It was during the second hour when Elias was doing his dissing of Toronto. Edge had actually came out, and I can't believe I almost forgot about that. My bad, guys. But Edge had actually came out, and no word spoken. He just speared the shit out of Elias. And I had put a question out there on social media asking you all, was that the first time since Edge retired from in-ring action that he got physical with somebody? And a lot of people are going, yeah, as far as I can recall, it is the first time he got physical. So, for you guys that have sharper memories than some of us older folks that, I'll just speak for myself in this instance. I know I got some cobwebs. I can't quite remember things like I used to. But it seems that a lot of people are kind of having the same conclusion, which is, yeah, he hasn't been physical like that, not since before he retired. So now you have, of course, a lot of people saying, oh, well, does this mean he's going to come out of retirement? Does this mean maybe he's got a couple of more matches in him? Let's not jump the gun and everything like that. I think if you have an opportunity to have Edge on your show, one of the questions that you ask is, Edge, we saw you do a spear to Elias. Elias sold it pretty good, and not for nothing, you didn't really, and I think if you can kind of play with the words a little bit, I'm sure Edge will see exactly what you're talking about. But when you go back and you play that spear that Edge did, it wasn't the full-blown spear that we've come to know and love from Edge. It wasn't one of those, I'm going to run at you and I'm going to throw all of my weight at you shoulder first and land that way. The way Edge basically did this spear, it was basically, okay, I'm running and I'm kind of going in for a tackle, but I got my arm wrapped around this person's waist. And as I land, I'm going to land basically on my knees. Play it back. And when you watch it in slow motion, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about with how he did that spear, right? So, pump the brakes and, just ask me, like, you have an opportunity to get Edge on your show. Ask him straight up, hey, We saw you do a Spirit of Elias, modified spear from what you've done in previous years, but why did you decide in this instance it was okay for you to get physical? And honestly, I would ask him, hey, what's going on with that neck? Is that neck still where it was that led up to you retiring so many years ago? You know, what exactly is going on? What's the new update? I'm sure things have not changed. I'm sure things have not changed whatsoever. And besides, really ask yourself, as cool as it would be to see Edge come back, right? 45-year-old Edge, right? Why not? Still looks the same, right? As cool as it would be to see Edge come back, what does he have to accomplish? Seriously, what more does he have to accomplish? He's been a multi-time world heavyweight champion. He's had some of the most awesome, coolest moments, rivalries, and all that in WWE history. And to top it all off, he was able to go into the Hall of Fame. So, like, where do you go from there? You know, there's really not that much more you can do, sadly. And for me, I think it would be a case where after one, you know, short little mini run, I won't say culminating in a title, but let's just say hypothetically speaking, you know, if you were to kind of give him the Goldberg treatment, or you gave him the Kurt Angle treatment, or the Shawn Michaels treatment coming back this second go round, you know, that's a short window right there. You know, what are you going to do? Are you going to utilize him and excel him to where you need him to be, and then just to put over up and coming younger talent? I don't think the younger upper talent really need a guy like Edge right now. I think Edge is just honestly quite fine where he is right now, right? I mean, and not for nothing, even if he did want to come back, I don't think WWE would clear him. Edge could probably get all the doctors in the world, and I honestly do not believe in my heart of hearts that no matter how many other doctors outside of WWE would clear him, he's going to get cleared. So we can pretty much forget about that. We had a WWE Night of Champions spot that's going to be happening on Sunday night, September 15th. Again, Sunday night, September the 15th. So we have a little bit over a month to go before that pay-per-view comes about. We saw the introduction for some of the international color commentators, and at one point we drop in on Carmella and R-Truth. They're dressed up as some wacky freaking color commentators, and I loved it. That was just a hilarious spot. To see what WWE was able to do creatively with Carmella and R-Truth, not just at this spot, but also during the pre-show. You had Drake Maverick, who was just going all around during the pre-show looking for R-Truth and Carmella, and then at one point he talks to the panel during the second hour, and it turns out Carmella and Truth are under the announcer's table. So like basically you see the panel in front of the hard camera, right? But then when the camera is, you know, kind of pulling away, right, you're getting that wide shot. Then you see their table, and right up under there's Carmella and R-Truth, and that was hilarious. But to see them as part of the international announcers, I laughed my ass off. I thought that was just fucking ingenious how they set that up. And then by the time Drake Maverick realized what was going on, he comes on back. He's realized he's missed them by a couple of seconds. Love that. That was a nice little spot. I love how they did it at this pay-per-view with just a little touch of the not the cruiserweight, I'm sorry guys, the touch of the 24/7 title. I love how they did a little touch of that, just boop ba-doop, right? Not excessively too much, because after all it's a pay-per-view and everything, but I love how they did that. It was great comic relief. I really had no problem with the placements of that. It was smart. It was smart, creative writing, I personally felt. Also, while I'm talking about Drake Maverick, we did see later on Xavier Woods, Big E. They were talking to Kofi Kingston, getting him pumped up for his match later on in the night, which, by the way, Big E, Xavier Woods, no action, no in-ring action. For those of you wondering, what about a Roman Reigns? What about a What about a frickin' Braun Strowman? Nope, none of those guys tonight. None of those guys tonight. They tried to cheer up the spirits of Kofi Kingston by introducing a rapper by the name of Drake. It was actually Drake Maverick. It wasn't Canada's own Drake. That was a nice, hilarious spot. Next matchup we go, Ricochet taking on AJ Styles for the U.S. title. Ricochet not coming away as the U.S. champion there. AJ coming out on top with a little bit of help from his good brothers there, a little bit of interference. There was a high-risk maneuver in the closing moments of that matchup. Not really sure what Ricochet was looking for. Even the color commentators were like, not really sure what Ricochet was looking for up there. It looked like he was trying to do some type of back corkscrew. I don't know if it was a diving body. I don't know what the hell he was looking for, but that sequence was beautiful because when he did that, I loved how AJ Styles pretty much caught him in midair and basically was able to turn it into a Styles clash. Picked up the 1-2-3 that way. Those two guys actually had a really great match. They really did. I know I kind of sound a little bit redundant when I talk about Ricochet and AJ Styles, but when I say to you guys, I could watch these two guys for a full 2 hours. I sincerely mean that because they are a nice, strong throwback to stuff from yesteryear. I really, really mean that. And it just seems like each time these guys face off, it gets better and better. And I really, of all the chemistries right now on the main roster, just in-ring action-wise, of all the chemistries, I mean, other than Aleister Black, Cesaro, because that really had jumped out at me, Ricochet, AJ Styles, it's right up under there as well. I mean, when I just look at everything, when I look at Raw and when I look at SmackDown, just those two shows respectfully, when I look at them, yeah, for me, those were the two that really, really jump out at me the most. Not for nothing, but as far as honorable mention, I would also have to give a respected honorable mention to the Usos and the Revival. You know, it started off a bit cold, a little bit shaky, but they're coming along as well. Hey, can we get into some Patreon shout-outs? Let's get into some Patreon shout-outs, and then we'll go over the rest of this card, because there's only a couple of more matches I want to talk about. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's talk about the next two matchups, and then we'll go ahead and we'll get into some Patreon shout-outs, all right? Next matchup, Amber Moon taking on Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title. Amber Moon, man, I had her getting this. I just felt it's kind of time to switch it up a little bit. But then I also kind of felt as though, well, if I were to bring Sasha Banks back and I want to create some buzz, I want to create some shock and awe, maybe I can do it right here, right? Just to kind of set up the next batch of TV tapings. Let me do it right here, right? Maybe I can somehow set it up in a way where Sasha Banks is the person responsible for causing Bayley her SmackDown Women's title. I laid all of this out when I was offering match predictions, by the way. We did upload that to the YouTube channel. It was a short piece. It was only, I think, God, how long was that? I think it was maybe somewhere between 10, maybe 15 minutes long. It might have been shorter than that. It was a short piece. So the fact that they didn't even go in that direction, I'm at a point right now where I'm not ever speaking the name of Sasha Banks again. There's been a couple of times where I've said, hey, I'm setting this up right. Everything's good with Sasha. I'm placing her here. And the fact that on the biggest card of them all, of your major 4 pay-per-view events, the fact that no Sasha Banks. You know, you want to create the shock, the awe, the memories, and most importantly, set up your next batch of TV shows. The fact that they didn't even do anything with Sasha. Now, some can make the argument, well, there's always the Raw and SmackDown post Summerslam, Lee. They're still going to be out there in Canada. Anything is still possible. Well, I'll say to you, let's wait and see. But from here on now, like, it is what it is. You know, if they use her, great. If not, it's like I'm not gonna keep factoring in, hey, well, it'd be kind of cool if maybe they did this with her. But that was how I was picturing Amber Moon becoming the champion, was basically kind of got a little bit of help from Sasha, but didn't pan out that way in this matchup. Closing moments of that match, we had saw Amber Moon. She tried to go for a high risk maneuver. Safe to say she was looking for the Eclipse, and she had a little bit of hesitation there because you had a delay from when she laid out Bayley on the mat, and then a little bit kind of like a brain fart for a couple of seconds. I don't think it was a situation where it was done on purpose. I think it was just, hey, I got him where I want him. Okay, now what do I do? Right? I think it was one of those type of deals. She sold that beautifully, as far as I was concerned. Facial expressions, the body language, all that. She sold that beautifully. Then goes up to the top turnbuckle, has a little bit of a hesitation, like she's thinking, okay, what do I want to do? And then right when it's like, okay, I'm going to go for this, Bayley, just second win all of a sudden, rushes up, grabs her, Bayley to Bayley from top rope, 1, 2, 3, retains the SmackDown Women's title that way. They were good. I mean, for me, I saw a new layer from Amber Moon. These girls, and the way I described it on social media, these girls, they pretty much had worked a grapple strike type of style for most of this match. It wasn't really, if you want to look at things from like a technical standpoint, you'd have to go to the Becky Natty match for that. But this was more of a strike, light grapple here and there. If there was one constructive piece of feedback I'd like to offer both of those girls, it's play to the crowd sometimes, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they were in there, and at times the crowd was dead silent. Dead silent. I mean, you really couldn't hear a peep out of these guys, right? You heard a little bit of Bayley chants going on and everything, but the point is, you got these two girls that's in there. Great match. But get the crowd into it. I was kind of hoping that at some point Amber Moon would scream and yell at the crowd, come on, kind of get them worked up or whatever. And I was kind of hoping that maybe at some point Bayley kind of look at the crowd, clap her hands a little bit, try to get them involved, right? Especially if you had like some type of a situation where maybe Amber Moon's on the ground, Bayley's trying to get her second win, and she's clapping, trying to feed off the energy from the crowd, do something like that. It was almost as if they were in there trying to do some fucking brain surgery, and they were dead silent, didn't really hear any groans, no grunts, none of that shit. But it was a good sound matchup nonetheless. Next matchup we go, Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens. Remember the stipulation, Kevin Owens loses, he is fired from the WWE. For me, this was a case of stupid booking 101, and I'm going to explain to you the reason why. Look, the WWE is in Canada. They have had such a rich history with Canada. Good and a lot of bad. Just ask Bret Hart, okay? I thought for sure that with the way they were hyping up and building up Shane McMahon, that, okay, well, Shane McMahon has all of this power in his hands, right? He's not willing to put his job on the line. He's not going to do that. Say whatever the reason is, but he's not going to do that, right? His last name is McMahon, and at the end, McMahon always wins, right? Stephanie, Shane, Vince, whatever, Linda, whatever. McMahon at the very end, they may not win that day. Somewhere down the road, when it comes to the war overall, they're going to win, right? So, yeah, I'm looking at this match, and I thought for sure at some point, okay, well, let's just say somehow Kevin Owens does come away with the W. What do you do then? How do you get away with Shane McMahon kind of not giving it to Kevin Owens? How do you continue to stack the deck against KO and it looks like he's just fucking screwed? And I was thinking at some point, well, surely you're going to have Shane McMahon restart the match, right? Surely you're going to do something of that nature. Now, you see Shane McMahon introduce his own special enforcer and Elias. Okay, so now we got Elias. All right, so the odds are now stacked. But the way that they went about it and the finish to the match, it was just stupid on so many levels. Because once again, just how I had talked about how, hey, it would have been a great idea had you had Sasha Banks. Here's another case right here where you really could have had social media and the wrestling community buzzing with Kevin Owens losing to Shane McMahon. And then it's, okay, so what's going to happen? What do you do now with Kevin Owens? You know, what's next for him? Oh my God. Like, so is that it? Is he officially done with the WWE? Well, yeah, man, we got to check out Raw and SmackDown, find out what the hell is going on, right? He could have easily done it like that. And they did not go in that direction. And I mean, not for nothing, but WWE, the history with Canada, you know, we didn't screw Brett screwed Brett, right? So you didn't think that, okay, well, yeah, let's really stick it to Kevin, right? He technically got an endorsement from Stone Cold Steve Austin, so you're not going to really try to do everything you can in your power to really play that up. So for me, I just felt that creatively WWE significantly dropped the ball right here with this matchup. Now, at one point, we see Kevin Owens, he grabs a steel chair. He's getting ready to go belligerent on Shane McMahon with this steel chair. And Shane McMahon knows that, hey, he comes at me with that steel chair or any foreign object, he's disqualified and I get my wish, KO is fired. So the referee is reminding KO, hey, can't do it. So KO just throws the chair down, whatever. Shane McMahon comes in with a slap, whatever. They take the action outside of the ring. Somehow Kevin Owens, I think he did like his little cannonball thing that he likes to do sometimes. He basically takes out Elias and the other referee that way, goes back over to the steel chair, goes belligerent on Elias, gets back in the ring, has the steel chair in his hand, is getting ready to go belligerent on frickin' Shane McMahon. Referee has already come to now from that knock he took down earlier, which, by the way, serious botch, because when you go back and you watch how the referee is practically right beside Elias, and when freaking Kevin Owens does his little cannonball flip, you see Elias is the one that takes 95% of that, and yet somehow the referee just, whoa, and he just freaking falls and he's grabbing on his head like really, dude? Like seriously? Anyway, so referee gets in there, grabs a steel chair, turns around, throwing the steel chair out. Kevin Owens just punted the hell out of Shane McMahon in the groin. It was so beautiful. Followed it up with a stunner. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens wins that way. For me, they miss a golden opportunity. Not to mention, where the fuck was Drew McIntyre? Every single other time we see Shane McMahon, he's walking around with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is like to his freaking hip. And the one time that, hey, well, it kind of makes a lot of sense, Drew McIntyre, right? And let's up the ante a little bit more. Thought Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were supposed to be buddies. We saw them not that long ago. They tag team and everything like that. When it counted the most, how come Sami Zayn didn't have his boys back? So there was just a lot of very questionable booking that was going on in that match that just really left me scratching my head saying, kind of silly. Next matchup, Trish Stratus taking on Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair picking up the W. Good match. It was a good match. Look, man, a lot of fond memories of Trish Stratus. I mean, you're a longtime wrestling fan. You remember the Attitude Era and everything. Come on. How can you not love Trish Stratus? Like, seriously. And, for me, I know there were a bunch of people that were crapping on Trish Stratus and, trying to make fun of her and all this other shit. And it's like, you know what? Grow the fuck up, right? It's like it's easy to talk and and say a bunch of stupid shit just to sound cool, look cool and everything when you're on social media. But when it comes to the fucking real world, you're not even going to be about that, right? You're going to be all, oh, look who it is. Wonder if I can get their autograph and all that other shit. So I try not to feed too much into some of that. But seeing some of the criticism that was coming out there for Trish Stratus, I just couldn't help but shake my head and just be like, you knuckleheads. Like, seriously, you fucking knuckleheads. But, look, for me, seeing 43-year-old Trish Stratus go out there and is just in phenomenal shape. And I mean, here's the thing. It's not like Trish Stratus has been away from the limelight as far as entertainment goes in front of the cameras. I mean, she's been very active over the years. I remember at one point she had a show on the Weather Channel. I can't remember what exactly the show was, but I know because there were a couple episodes I had watched. I know she was traveling. She was doing some traveling. I can't quite remember if she was tasting different foods or whatnot, but I know for a brief period in time she did have a show on the Weather Channel. I'll need for you guys to remind me what the name of that show was and everything. And then she's had her own yoga fitness health thing. I mean, so she's always been active, and she's focused on her family, has two cute little kids and everything. And for her to get in the type of shape that she's in, I mean, not for nothing, she's always been in shape. But from the moment that she found out she was going to be having this match against Charlotte, I mean, she upped the ante and then some, right, to go into this matchup. It's just really a testament to Trish Stratus as far as how dedicated she truly has been and how much respect she has had for the sport of professional wrestling. I mean, her story is a very cool one because she starts off with no experience in the world, no wrestling experience in the world. And it is just without a shadow of doubt, WWE, okay, they got her because of her looks. All right. And she's a valet for a little bit. And then to just see the transition that she's able to make into becoming ultimately one of the trailblazers for the women's division, and pretty much her, Lita, and go down the list, right? Molly Holly, Victoria, Jazz, just on and on and on. Those cornerstone of women that were taking women's wrestling in the WWE to that next level, to ultimately where it is right now, right? They were pretty much the godmothers of that, if you will. So to see Trish Stratus on really such short notice not only get herself in 2 times better shape, in ring shape, to go do this freaking match, right? And is able to hang with Charlotte Flair. That's the other thing. She was able to hang with Charlotte Flair. She didn't just go in there and Trish Stratus was taking the bumps. She was taking the chops. I mean, I'll tell you, there was one bump I was really concerned about, and it scared the shit out of me because I'm going, come on, Trish, like, you don't need to do all that now. Like, come on now. And I know you guys that watch the pay-per-view, you'll know exactly the spot I'm talking about. But there was the spot where it was Trish Stratus outside of the ring apron. She was standing, and I think Charlotte maybe, did a tackle or shoulder bump, something. But I remember Trish went flying off of it, and just the way she landed, you were like, because then when they played it back in slow-mo, you're going, okay, maybe she lands on her butt, and then, no, she didn't even land on her butt. It was really weird how she had failed, because just when it looked like she was going to fall on her butt, instead, like, that lower region of her body had turned, and then it was like, it was scary. I didn't like that spot. And I noticed that there's a little spot that the referees will do when there's like some significant little bumps that some of these wrestlers will take. They'll immediately run up to them and they kind of like slide their hands in between the other wrestler's hand, and I guess maybe there's some type of a like code for like squeeze twice if you're okay or some shit like that. And I swear I saw Trish do a squeeze, so it's kind of like, okay, she's good, she's back into it, no problem. That's just a planned spot. Everything went okay. All right, great. So I felt a bit relieved after that. But I mean, Trish went in there, and I tell you what, the mannerisms, also the poise, the confidence, the bravado that she had about herself. It wasn't a arrogant bravado, but it was just a confidence in her ability, right? And I mean, for me, it just painted a picture over what is a significant problem right now with other women that's part of that roster. I don't need to insert names. You can just look at that main roster and you can just go, okay, not for nothing, but if I can just for a whole year, if I can just have this female wrestler on my roster and I have to replace, having her on my roster, I gotta, in place of her, I gotta get rid of one of these women, right? I mean, you could just, Trish Stratus would be that one. If she says, yeah, I'd be down for a whole year, but you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, I can't pay all of these women. Who am I going to let go or whatever? Like, you'd be a fool to not try to do something with Trish Stratus, basically, right? So this was a great send-off that they did for Charlotte. I mean, she made her rounds doing her interviews, and, for a second there, I thought it was a situation where people were just kind of having a field day with a way of playing with words. But from what Trish Stratus has put out there, as far as she knows, this is her last match. This is her swan song, right? And so, look, if that's it, God bless her. As far as I'm concerned, Trish Stratus, she doesn't owe the wrestling industry anything else. She doesn't. She's done so much for the business and then some. She has been a really great ambassador for pro wrestling. She really, really has. Because, and I think even veteran wrestling fans will agree with this, even if we have those that may not like Trish Stratus, but they are veterans in following many wrestling promotions, including the WWE. I think even veteran wrestling fans will say this. As far as name a female wrestler that has not gotten in trouble with the law since they were done with the WWE as a full-time competitor, and they have taken everything that they've learned from the WWE and applied it to their own respective business, and they've been thriving, and the show must go on, basically. Trish Stratus, I think, would be at the very top of the list that people would think of if you're talking female former wrestlers from WWE. She's been a really great ambassador. Has, to her credit, never taken part in any bullshit fucking concussion lawsuit or some stupid shit like that by that Kairos lawyer. She's never said anything bad about the WWE in interviews or anything like that. Very appreciative of her time in the WWE. Recognizes that at the time when she wrestled in the era of shock radio like Howard Stern, in the era of the Jerry Springer show, Girls Gone Wild and everything, she knew that she had a look, and okay, yeah, whatever you need me to do, was always a team fucking player, right? And I mean, just a perfect overall cool fucking model citizen, a great ambassador from the promotion. And that's why you have seen, for some people that just don't understand, well, why has she kept doing business with WWE? It doesn't make sense. Well, now you know why, right? Now you know why. But when you go back and you look at her earlier work, the proof is in the pudding right there. So to see her, go out the way she did, me personally, I wish she would have went out with a win. I really do, because for me, Charlotte has done everything. She's done everything. She could have afforded to lose. Look, for me, the win that Charlotte got on Trish tonight, it's in vain if WWE does not build upon it. So I'm expecting some type of a instant, I don't know if maybe you want to go along the lines of a future title shot or what, but you got to somehow build upon that. I just don't want it to be a situation where Charlotte gets the W over Trish and then we don't see Charlotte again for a couple of weeks. Because then it's kind of like, well, fuck, if we were going to do this, then didn't you think it made all the sense in the world to just go on ahead and give Trish the W? You know, the crowd was a bit silent at first. I mean, they were into it from the opener, but then they got silent when Charlotte was really taking on the lead there with the offense. Charlotte, to follow up on what I said earlier, remember what I said earlier about how I wish Amber Moon and Bayley would have played up the crowd, you know, try to get them invested in everything. Charlotte, a true veteran, a true fucking veteran, was getting the crowd into it. Hey, this is freaking Trish Stratus, huh? This is Trish Stratus. This is your girl, right? This is your girl. I love that. That's the shit that I'm talking about, right? When it's so kind of quiet, and I guess maybe Charlotte just kind of realized, okay, they're kind of, let me talk some trash. Let me get them back into this. Let me get them. Let me hook them in here. And she was able to do it. And she did it more than once. It was beautiful. She did it more than once. Even Trish played up to the crowd as well. There was so much that if you are a young female wrestler, part of the Performance Center, or if you are on the main roster and you don't have that much time under your belt, there was so much you could take away from watching these two women and applying it to your own craft. This was a good 101 tape. It really, really was, of what to do and definitely what not to do, right? But mainly a lot of, okay, do this. There really wasn't anything bad I could say about that match. I thought the story that they told in that ring, I loved it. It was good. It's like, hey, here's this big, intimidating, massive woman in Charlotte Flair taking on this tiny little petite thing known as Trish Stratus, and Trish Stratus has always been this little small petite thing, but she has like a firecracker in her, right? I mean, she just knows how to light it up and go off on your ass. It was good. It was good. I got to give it up to both of them. Let's see. Next up, go to our next match. Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, WWE Championship. This match pretty much had ended with Kofi Kingston going belligerent on Randy Orton. Now, you guys got to forgive me, but pretty much at this point is when I was starting to get myself together for the post show. And from the little bit that I remember, I know shortly after Randy Orton had did a RKO to Kofi Kingston. And he was just cheesing like a mother. You're like, just go for the 1, 2, 3, man. Go for the 1, 2, 3. Like, what the hell? What's the delay? Seriously, just go in there, get the title. What's going on? And for whatever respected reason, Randy Orton just stalled like I don't know what. But I remember that the action had soon went outside because Randy Orton was saying some stuff to Kofi Kingston's kids and Kofi's wife. And Kofi was not feeling that. Kofi was actually pretty damn pissed off about that. And so Randy Orton had actually went out, took the action to the floor. I'm trying to think. He just unloaded on him, but I remember it was a double count out. That much I do remember. It was a double count out, but Kofi Kingston had got a kendo stick in there. And he was just going belligerent on Randy Orton. So you can almost kind of make the argument that, okay, well, maybe we're going to get a rematch at Night of Champions with these two going at it again. Maybe we're going to see some type of a Street Fighter or something of that nature. Because Randy Orton can now just say, hey, I know what ticks you off now. You've shown me what is your true weakness. And now I'm going to be able to use that to my advantage, right? So Randy Orton when you just look back on your WWE history, Randy Orton is the king of playing the mind games, right? He knows how to get in his opponent's head and everything. So, hey, look, if they're going to go on ahead and they're going to do a rematch at Night of Champions with these two for the title, I'm down with that. From what I saw of them tonight, I thought they actually had flowed pretty damn well. I mean, even though it has kind of been a while and everything, I actually had thought they flowed pretty well. Probably the match of the night, for me, one of two matches that I was looking forward to the most, eagerly anticipating. The first one was Trish taking on Charlotte. The second one, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, taking on Finn Balor. Where do we fucking begin? Shall we begin with the epic entrance that Bray Wyatt had as The Fiend? So basically, they do a revamped, gothic, kind of metal version of his old song that he was coming out to before, right? That was badass. His lantern is modified in a really cool kick-ass way. So like his lantern is now inside of like, and it looked like a beheaded Rob Zombie without makeup or whatever is how it looked like. But I swear it looked like he came out with a dangling head of Rob Zombie and there's a lantern just shoved in its fucking mouth through the throat cavity or whatever. And you're like, wow, that's badass. And the eyes are fucking rolled back. All of that visually was just intense. It was awesome as fuck. For me, not only did it had a whole Slipknot vibe to it, but it also had the classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre from back in the 70s. It had that vibe to it as well. Just overall, the entrance. You had people busting out their flashlights like the good old days when Bray was coming out. I mean, I loved all of that overall presentation. Even the lower third graphics that came up mentioning his name, The Fiend and everything. It was like, let him in, and then somehow they were able to merge it into The Fiend. Even that was freaking awesome. I loved it. I freaking loved it. If all of that, and word on the beat is that all of this is from the mind of Bray Wyatt, if that truly is all from him, even right down to the entrance and everything, you know what? Kudos to WWE for giving him that creative freedom to play around like that. Seriously. Because, and I put it out on social media, which was basically WWE needs to be given a lot of praise, because I haven't quite seen in a long time them really let loose and being receptive to somebody's ideas as far as a character and everything. Because you're looking at this and you're going, nah, this does not scream Vince McMahon. This doesn't even scream Triple H. This doesn't even scream a Paul Heyman, or, you know, it screams totally like this guy came up with it. And it really, really does, right? And I just hope that with all the praise that Bray Wyatt as The Fiend continues to get, I just hope that it doesn't culminate in a situation where somebody higher up decides, well, I got to do a little bit more to put my stamp on it and make it be my own thing and my own creation, because then that's how shit gets tainted, and then that's how you fuck a really good thing up. But overall, just the entrance, that all was fucking killer. And to see Bray Wyatt come down, and Finn Balor is now at the receiving end, right? Most of his opponents know how it feels when he puts on the Demon Balor gimmick and everything, right? But now here he is wearing white, mind you, now looking scared shitless, like, what the hell did I just walk into? Loved all of that. I ate all of that shit up. Now for me, and I purposely did not say this on social media, because I was trying to see if anybody else was going to say this on social media. And now that I'm doing the show, because I like saving little things for the show, now that we're doing the show, I can really go in. But I did put a little bit of a cryptic tweet out there on social media. I said, did you peep how Bray Wyatt was booked in that match? I don't mean the fact that he won. That's not what I'm talking about. So don't overanalyze like that. But did you pay attention to how he was in the ring? I bring that up for a reason. And I gotta give WWE a lot of props, right? I'm probably gonna be the only person that's gonna mention this, right? It was smart how WWE did Bray Wyatt, because for me, if I'm introducing this person that is sadistic, if I'm introducing a person that is off his rocker, he's on the edge, he is just this uncontrollable rage. When I see this Fiend person, this is not the happy-go-lucky. This isn't the guy that's got the Playhouse thing going on. This is a guy that's gonna fucking murder you. Right? If I'm booking this guy and the bell rings, do I really want this guy to go in on his opponent with a fucking hammerlock? Do I really want this guy to go in on a lockup? Right? Do I want this guy to go in with a test of strength? I don't think so. I think as soon as the bell rings, I'm going to have this guy attack his opponent like a rabid Wolverine. And his whole philosophy, his psychology rather, and how he attacks his opponents as the Fiend, I love it. I love it. Now look, we got a little bit of a teaser when he did what he did to Kurt Angle, when he did what he did to Mick Foley, but then it's like, okay, no. Now we're talking about a match that's probably going to be going for about maybe 10 minutes. What's the story you're going to tell here with Wyatt? Right? How are you going to do this in a way where, because if we're looking at this individual, he should not be doing any of those moves that I had just talked about. He shouldn't be looking for no drop kick or anything like that. He should just be a savage motherfucker that should be going in with strikes. You know, that should be, and this was a really cool part that I love. I loved how at one point he had Finn Balor on his knees, and then he's got him by his neck and head, and it was like basically he snapped his fucking head off, like he killed him. You're going, holy shit, that's awesome. That is so badass. Like, cool. But then I cranked it up in my head a little bit more, because sometimes I just like anticipate what's getting ready to happen. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, well look, if I'm booking this guy, I'm not going to have him do a pinfall. I'm not going to have him do that. I'm not going to have him do some type of a silly ass T-bone suplex or submission, Boston Crab, half a Boston Crab, STF. I'm not going to have him do that stupid shit. I'm going to book him in a way where he's going to use the mandible claw, right? They've been introducing it a couple of times. Make that his new finisher. Let him do the mandible claw. Either two things is going to happen when he applies that mandible claw. Either his opponent is going to tap out and he's going to continue to leave that motherfucker in until his opponent passes the fuck out. Okay. All right. I think we're live. I'm not sure. Let me see what's going on here. Let me see. Are we finally live? Let me look here. Let me see. I think we're finally live again. I'm not really sure. Let me look here. Bum, 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 bum. Let me look here. Okay, I think I fixed it. I'm not really sure, so I'm gonna keep on going here. So if you're still with us at this point, I do apologize. We had a little bit of a connection issue, so I'm actually connected with my Wi-Fi from my phone. So let's but yeah, the Bray Wyatt thing, fucking awesome. Ate that shit up. You would like to believe that now it's going to be a situation where it's going to be the Demon Balor taking on the Fiend Bray Wyatt, right? And hopefully that's going to be happening at Night of Champions. I would dare not want to see that as a pre-show, but Wyatt, I think they need to make it be a rare thing that they have Bray Wyatt as the Fiend. I would not want to see the Fiend on Monday Night Raw. I don't know how some of you guys feel, but I think at this point, The Fiend just strictly needs to be a pay-per-view thing. That's how you set it up. You can't have it be any other way, right? Because after a while, you keep spamming it out between Raw, SmackDown, and all that. It's gonna get played out. So you got to do it fucking smart, as far as I'm concerned. One more match to talk about: Seth Rollins taking on Brock Lesnar for the United States title. We have us a new champion, and his name is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins had guaranteed that there was going to be a way he was going to somehow become the champion, and he did become the champion. I like the psychology that they had told with the matchup. I gotta be honest with you. I was expecting for Brock Lesnar to go in there, and I like how they began the match. Early on, what was telling the story was the damaged ribs. Taped up, Brock Lesnar looked at that as a big ass bullseye. That's what he was going for. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, this match is going to be done in no time. But soon, the tides had quickly turned as Seth Rollins had saw opening. Brock Lesnar was weak. All it took was really just one curb stomp, and that pretty much had sent Brock Lesnar off his A game, took him by surprise, and now it was kind of evened up a little bit, so to speak, right? So closing moments of this freaking matchup, we had Brock Lesnar return to the ring, Rollins right behind him. Rollins goes to the top, hits a frog splash, waits for Lesnar to get up, connects with another stomp or curb stomp, whatever you want to call it, goes in for the cover. Lesnar kicks out at 2. Rollins cranks it up again, looking for another curb stomp. Lesnar catches him mid-move. Rollins slides out of an F5 attempt by Lesnar, drops Lesnar with a kick to the face, comes right back with another stomp, picks up the W that way. It was a really great match. It really, really was. And for me, what was the real telling tale of this matchup was the fact that there was no controversy in this one. To the point, Brock Lesnar cleanly put over Seth Rollins. We really need to home in on that. He cleanly put over Seth Rollins, which is a rarity, right? And, I know some people are looking at this and they're going, well, wait a minute, man. This dude, Brock Lesnar, had just won the Money in the Bank briefcase. If you're going to have him win the Money in the Bank briefcase and then he becomes champion but loses it back to Seth, what the hell was the whole point in him losing the Money in the Bank briefcase? Right, like, doesn't make any sense. What's the whole point of him losing the title when maybe he just should have held on to the Money in the Bank briefcase a little while longer? I'm going to explain that to you. It's quite simple. It's SummerSlam, people. You got to bring all your stars. You got to bring all your ad revenue. You got to bring all your A game. And look, not for nothing, I know people are going to be like, yeah, but it's Brock Lesnar. Brock fucking sells. Anytime he's on the shows, the ratings, they're up. Anytime he is involved with a pay-per-view, when you look at the revenue that he's been associated with that pay-per-view and you compare it to a year where it didn't have anything to do with him, it fucking sucks. But here's the other thing. Brock Lesnar has had a uncanny streak since he's been back in the WWE. When you look at the amount of appearances that he's made at SummerSlam and how many of those SummerSlams he's closed out, I mean, he is still, like him or not, he is still a fucking draw when it's all said and done. So for me, I think ultimately the plan, I think, was all along for Brock Lesnar to get the championship, to basically go into SummerSlam and do the deed, put it right back on Seth Rollins. I just really hope that with Rollins being made the man once again, I just hope that things can really intensify a bit with his run as a champion. I mean, seriously, because for me, it's been pretty lackluster. It's been very, very lackluster the past couple of times that Seth Rollins has been a champion. So, I can only hope for the best. I mean, look, at least we don't have to worry about a guy like Baron Corbin in the near future for Seth Rollins, right? I would like to believe that as far as new future threats go to the championship reign of Seth Rollins, I would like to believe that a guy like a Drew McIntyre right around the corner. Whenever Bobby Lashley comes back, I would like to believe he's definitely going to get a crack at the title. I would like to believe that a guy like maybe Sami Zayn would potentially get a shot for the title. I would like to believe that a guy like Samoa Joe, I think a great program between Samoa Joe and Seth Rollins. Even if the ending result is Rollins going over Joe, I still think Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, that would be a phenomenal fucking matchup, right? So there's ultimately AJ Styles, right? A lot of cool stuff that you can do with that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Seth Rollins this go round as the man, right? But to answer the question, I think that's ultimately why the trigger was pulled, is because it was all about getting as many eyes on the SummerSlam show as much as humanly possible when it's all said and done. But, overall, I thought that the pay-per-view was okay. I did. I mean, look, is this something I'm going to be remembering for years to come? I think, honestly, 3-5 years from now, I'll remember the pay-per-view for two reasons. I'll remember the pay-per-view because, and what we're led to believe is the final time we had saw Trish Stratus as an in-ring wrestler, as she's officially now gotten her swan song, right? So the match she had with Charlotte Flair, instant classic. I'm also going to remember this SummerSlam because of the repackaged Bray Wyatt and his epic debut, right? I thought that was just killer fucking good on so many levels. Other than that, really isn't anything else that jumps out to me that I'm going to be remembering in the years to come. You got the polling results here. Take a look one more time before we get ready to wrap up the stream for tonight. Let's see where we are here with these results here. So we are now at 67% thumbs up for the pay-per-view, 33% staying in the middle for the pay-per-view. And that entrance was killer fucking good. It really was killer fucking good. Let's see what we got on YouTube here. I want to look at the communities tab here on YouTube. I apologize, by the way, to those of you that were sitting with me during those technical difficulties, because that was really weird what was going on. You all may have continued to see some type of a stream, but I was showing at my end that the internet had actually disconnected. It's kind of weird because there's no storm going on over here right now, so may actually have to make a call to Verizon and find out what's going on. I do know one thing. I do know that there is a bit of construction going on right now. So we've got 14% of you that are giving the pay-per-view on the YouTube communities tab a thumbs down. 27% of you are giving the pay-per-view a staying in the middle, and 59% of you are staying in the middle. Looking at some of the comments that we got going on here in the chat here. We're almost done here. Bear with me. It may be a little bit buffy, but stay with me here. We're almost done here. Let's see. I don't know what the hell that is. What the hell is that about? Anyway, what else here? I see a question about Shawn Michaels. I'm bypassing it because it's like I don't know what the hell that means. You guys would have to enlighten me on that one. Double A said he had trouble streaming SummerSlam on the PS4 app. The feed kept buffering and jumping all over the place. I think it really has something to do with the new app update that they did to it. Let's see what else we got here. DJ Subia. Wrestling fans get on my nerves now. It's like we're in the middle of the complain era of fans. Although she didn't win, Trish Stratus he's referring to, I'm still 100% satisfied. Ha, right. Let's see here. What else we got here? There was something else I had wanted to check. Not really sure if I can load it up though. Let me look here. I did want to take a look at the Facebook poll one more time too before we get ready to wrap it up. The poll is going to remain open for a couple of days, so you guys can definitely sound off, cast your vote, and let me know what you had thought about the pay-per-view, because we'll definitely follow up on the polling results this Monday night. I do want to get into some Patreon shout outs, because our Patreon members, I love them. They are fucking awesome. Patreon.com/RCWR show. Check out bonus audio and video content, a good majority of which you won't be able to find anywhere else. A lot of exclusive goodies on there. Patreon.com/RCWR show. Shout out to Patreon members Justin Rabach, Sean Kenter, Freddie R, Michael Wolf, John Davis, Tony Bing Gaming, great YouTube channel. Tony Bing Gaming, you can find him that way. Talks all things Marvel, video games, and more. Shout out to my good friend Anthony Missionary Thomas of Wrestling Soup, and shout out to Joe Raymond Jr. $5 a month, you get access to bonus audio video content. Patreon.com/RCWR show. And in case you missed it at the very top, we are now going back to Monday nights. So we got this show in the books. I'm going to be back here just a handful of hours after Raw goes off the air. We'll definitely be talking a bit more about Raw. Makes a lot of sense, but it's the RCWR show that you've been checking out for a long time, just now on a different night and everything. So do check that out. That's going to be loads fucking fun. You can get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords the RCWR show. A little bit shaky there in the final 15-20 minutes of the broadcast. Do appreciate you all's patience. Hopefully everything will be nice and smoothed out when it comes to the next broadcast. But until next go round, I'm wishing all of y'all to be safe and most importantly be kind to one another. Those of you that's going to be waiting for the audio version of this, it will actually be included with Monday night show for on demand and on the downloads. All right guys, much love, and I will catch you all later. Adios.